Wait, hang on. Now that I've hit start recording, can we just do that again?
Everybody say, hey, oh, hey,
Hey, oh, we got the playoffs, Tom! Let's keep it rolling! We're back!
oh, aren't we just, Thomas? Aren't we just?
Oh, playoff football has arrived!
Playoff football.
Sam has been exiled for this week. That's what's happened here. Sam's been exiled, just like the Giants, for his needless, slightly erotic comments. And
He's been exiled. If you can imagine this, listeners, he's holed up in the little office in the vets with a big book that says cover 1 for dummies on it.
he's laid in with the Cliff Kingsbury and the how to read a 5-tech nose tackle. Oh God, playoff football, Ed. How excited are you for this weekend's action?
I'm very excited. This is the war, the sort of the floodgate for the shit teams, and I quite like every now and again. I quite like watching a shit team get absolutely like. I'm a bit Cecilarian in that I like to watch an absolutely crap team get the floor wiped with them sometimes, but I also think like if you ask me, if you'd have just given me all the teams and like thrown them at me and say schedule it yourself, I think this is exactly what I'd have come up with in terms of like zesty, intriguing games.
All right, I mean, the good thing about the playoffs is I personally don't like watching the shit teams very much, unless they're like fun shit. So when it gets around to playoff time, it's nothing but hard-nosed action and exciting play, but in the wintry air. There was I don't know if you saw Mina Kimes' tweet about like sort of what wild sounding sport take do you like or do you firmly believe in that makes you sound like a little bit of a weirdo. I think it wasn't. I've worded that incredibly verbatim, but hers was that if you want Josh Allen to succeed, Buffalo need to build a dome. So my sort of question is, just while we wait for Max, what is the one sport take that you believe in that if you could change a sport in any way, shape or form, be it change a team, change a philosophy, change a rule, like what would you do? What would be your one wish list?
See, me and Max have had this conversation before, right? But the absolute top of the list would be for the NFL, and it should be whoever scores the touchdown has to kick the extra point.
Yes.
And I think that would be brilliant.
It would be great, because you'd almost get like wide receivers taking 5 snaps of kicking drills at the end of games, or like running backs becoming like sort of joint kicking specialists.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you'd sort of you'd lose the great kickers from the game, but you'd imagine sort of like DeAndre Hopkins, but also with a bronze leg. Like that's that's the tier of.
You could imagine
sort of,
like the tactics as well that would go into like a team would specifically target a guy, not because he's great with his hands, but because he's the best kicker out of all of your wide receiver core. So like, let's say that Ocho Cinco wasn't already like a great wide receiver anyway, but the Bengals would definitely be feeding him the rock 50 times just to get him to kick at least 12 extra points. I think there's a lot to say about that. Obviously, I trust that field goals would remain in the kicker's wheelhouse, so you still have to carry one.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it needs some work. The other thing I thought about, the idea I thought about was that you could declare before the play how many players you wanted to line up, and the defense had to pick the same number.
Oh, so you could choose to have like 5-on-5 if you felt that would provide a little bit of an advantage, or you could maybe go for like 51 versus 51 on each side of the ball, just 102-man scrum in the middle.
Yeah, that's my idea.
All right,
I've written to the NFL.
How likely do you reckon it is that Goodell changes either of those rules?
I actually got a letter back, but it was in crayon, so I couldn't read it.
Shit. All right. We got a little snippet from today. We got 6 games to preview, which is more than we usually do on these preview shows, but we already sort of covered the vast majority of what we want to talk about in the recap, so hopefully we'll be able to get through this pretty swiftly. We're also going to have Max joining us back on the show, but the main thing is we got playoff football. We got a little bit of injury news, and we also got some head coaching drama because, that'll all come up just shortly.
Yeah, that's true. I want to rage against the machine about that, so yeah.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, let's get into it.
Where to first, Thomas?
Well, first is this.
Hello, and welcome to Stiff Upper Lip Podcast, the NFL podcast by Brit. We are in partnership with Gridiron Extra, and we are returning for our 3rd season. So yeah, on we begin with me, Ed.
Me, Emma.
I'm Sam.
I'm Max Saito.
And I'm Tom.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Ah, we got playoff football!
We've got playoff football.
Yes!
It's worth noting for all of the other sort of American football podcasts out there that podcasts, comfortable with their identity can play jazz.
Is this a stab at anyone in particular?
Oh, you know who you are.
I feel like I know exactly where you're aiming as well here. Get some more jazz in the NFL scene. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, jazz plus jazz equals jazz. I mean, we know this.
Yeah. Anyway, we got 6 games of NFL action coming your way. We may as well start with... Well, we may as well just go in order because obviously every game is going to be televised. The Revolution will be televised, and it comes in the form of Joe Burrow with the Bengals 10-7 on the year. They come in maybe the sneakiest, hottest team in the NFL. They play the former shell of the Oakland Raiders, now in Las Vegas, getting their first playoff berth since the move. In a season of, probably the biggest roller coaster season that I might have ever seen in terms of off-the-field drama from any team, and they still made it to the playoffs. We've pretty much covered everything that's happened so far this year for the Raiders. But they come in, they go to Paul Brown Stadium, they play the Bengals, who, as I mentioned, might be the hottest team in the NFL. Ed, just a quick point on this. I want to sort of get a little who's going to win before we even think about touching upon either of these. I've gone Bengals. Where are you going?
Oh, Cincy, 100%.
Yeah. It feels like a bit of a no-brainer, which I know, like, playoff football can throw out, like, weird scenarios and whatnot, but the Raiders are here based off of some questionable aggressive play calling, a timeout, and Daniel Carlson being an incredibly clutch kicker. The Bengals coming in after having, over the last 2 weeks that he played, Joe Burrow threw for over 900 yards. This should be one of the most open and shut first-round playoff games. And it would mean that the Bengals win their first playoff game since the 90s. So, a lot to be proud of in Cincy, but can they pull it off? Welcome in, Max.
Hello, how are you?
Hi.
Not too shabby.
You looking forward to some playoff football?
Oh yeah, we are.
Aren't we just? We've been very excited about it up till now.
Yeah.
Up until just now when I joined, and your excitement's gone.
Yeah, it's faded away. Yeah.
It's when I realise that I'm with 2 guys who've both got horses still in the race for playoff football.
It's alright. Mine's going to be the final week that I'll be having a horse in it, so I'll be joining you in Misery Corner shortly. But
yeah, next week will be my final week.
Max, just quickly, Max, who do you have winning between the Bengals and Raiders before we even get into any proper previews?
The the Bengals, I think.
Okay, so a clean sweep thus far.
Yeah, I mean, they are the better team, but if we've learned anything from the picks this year, where even the best of us have not really... We've had some absolutely atrocious weeks where you go under 500. It's kind of been hard to predict things. It feels like, especially... I haven't seen any numbers on it, but it does feel like this year especially has been bloody difficult. And it feels like every other time that we as a group have unanimously voted for something in the picks, there's been an upset. So, yeah, I think the Bengals are top to bottom a better team, but I think there is a path for the Raiders to win this game.
Can I bang on an old drum?
Go for it.
I look at these teams and I think, where's the matchup that's going to cause problems? And it's the size of Cincinnati's wide receivers versus the size of the Raiders' DBs. Like, do you trust? I don't know. Do you trust any of these Raiders guys catching a contested ball with T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd?
Or Jamar Chase.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Like, part of me thinks this game's going to be over quickly, because if they can feed the ball to those receivers, there's not a lot. I mean, the Raiders will get pressure with Ngakoue and Crosby, and they've been getting pressure all year, and Burrow takes an enormous amount of sacks, and sort of like they have a lot of drives killed that way. But I still think that if the Cincinnati sort of air attack can get going, then they'll pull away from the Raiders pretty quickly, I think.
I think you touched on what, to me, the path for the Raiders to win this game would be, is that, I think Max Crosby leads the league in pressure rate this year. And as you say, Joe, like, the Cincinnati offensive line hasn't been as bad as it was last year, but it hasn't been great. And if they can rough up Joe Burrow, that is potentially how they can win this game. I think it's going to be freezing cold, isn't it, in Cincinnati for this game? The weather's not looking too pretty, which would obviously be more conducive to a shorter passing game or a run game. And to me, I think, the Raiders picked Josh Jacobs very high in the draft for running back, and I don't think so far he's justified it. So this is the kind of game where the Raiders need a good game out of Josh Jacobs for him to show his worth, and also just to lean on Renfro and for Darren Waller maybe to play better than he has done down the stretch. And I mean, obviously he's been hurt, but for him to be a bigger factor. And if they can do that, and they can limit Joe Burrow, they can stay in this game. And when you stay in the game down the stretch, then there's a chance, because the Raiders have won a lot of close games this year.
Yeah.
Like a lot. I think, I don't know exactly how many. They've had at least, I would say, 3 game-winning, last plays of the game. So they're a clutch team, and it'll be close. It could be close.
The thing that, just having a look at the two sides of the coin for how these playoffs are looking, it seems like if any of the AFC teams were to match up against any of the NFC teams, you could rely on defense and special teams, because I think that McPherson, Carlson, Boswell, Butker are all X factors, in the sense that if you are getting within sort of 50 yards in an incredibly close game, which most of these playoff games could potentially be, not saying all of them, but most of them could be, I would put my money on any of those 4 guys being able to kick a last minute field goal. So even that is taken out of it, because the Raiders have won a lot of close games because Daniel Carlson has kicked a game-winning or game-tying field goal. Whereas if it's going to be even a special teams duel, the Bengals and Raiders are both comparable in that way, because Evan McPherson's been absolutely fantastic, and it literally does come down to the fact that I think that the Raiders have had this horribly weird season all year. They made the playoffs, but I will say they were rough down the last 8 games. I know that they beat the Colts in a big spot, and they beat the Chargers in the biggest of spots, But they have been so inconsistent over the last 8 weeks, ever since the whole Gruden scenario came to a head. And it's almost like they're waiting for this season to come to an end so that they can just get out of this absolute nightmare scenario where star players have been arrested, coaches have been fired. They've been a constant media circus all year. The Bengals have maintained a level of composure by simply not having any ridiculous drama outside of the preseason, which ended up being complete fluff. So it's a no-brainer for me. One team is coming in probably still incredibly distracted. The other one is coming in composed, and they're the better team anyway.
I actually don't agree with some of that, because I think the Raiders have been through a lot as a team, and adversity can certainly help you when you get into tough situations, whereas the Bengals have come through in some clutch situations, like that game against the Chiefs, for example, but have they really been punched in the mouth? I don't know. And I think if the Raiders could put up, what was it 35 against the Chargers?
Yes, they did.
If you can put up 35 against the Chargers, I think you can put up, in theory, if you play as well as you did, I think you can put up 35 on the Bengals, because I think we, at the start of the season, rated the Bengals defense quite highly, but they've suffered quite a bit of drop-off. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson's played really well. He's probably going to be a second-team All-Pro, but I don't think they're a special game-changing defense.
Can I throw a counterpoint exactly to what you've just said? Because I'm gonna list off a bunch of teams that came close to or did beat 35 points on the Chargers, and you tell me how many of these are good offenses. The Texans, the Chiefs. Okay, fair enough. The Bengals put up 22 against the Chargers. The Broncos put up 28. The Steelers put up 37. The Vikings 27. The Patriots 27. The Ravens 34. The Browns 42. The Chargers, pretty much after week 5, have been giving up close to or over 35 points to even bad offenses.
Because of all these short fields, because they go for it on 4th to 1.
No, but legitimately, they have also been abysmal defensively. I know that the Raiders did put up 35 against the Chargers in Week 18, but they also didn't put up... What? Hang on, let me just quickly verify this, because one of the talking points that I remember is that the Raiders don't score a lot. They put up 23 against the Colts, 17 against the Broncos, 16 against the Browns, 9 against the Chiefs, 15 against the football team. All right, they put up 36 against the Cowboys, who I think were resting a bunch of players. They put up 13 against the Bengals when they already played each other in Vegas. This team is an atrocious offense ever since Henry Ruggs went out. They can't put up big points against anyone with even remotely a good defense, and the Bengals have got one.
Can I talk about a player that I really like for a moment?
I think the Bengals and sorry, Ed, 1 second. I think the Bengals and the Chargers defenses at this point in the season are a bit like Pick'em, because Hunter Renfrow has massively stepped up into the fold since, Ruggs went out, and I think they've really been playing without any serviceable version of Darren Waller, so he's going to be a key factor. Like I said, I think the Bengals will win, but I think the Raiders could make it close, in theory.
Go on, Ed.
You know how I have my guys?
Yeah.
That I like. You know how I really like free safeties?
You're going to mention Jesse Bates?
No, I'm actually mentioning Trevon Moehrig this time.
Oh! I thought we were about to get another Jesse Bates banger in a big spot.
No, I do love Jesse Bates. I also love Logan Wilson on Cincy defense as well. But no, Trevon Moehrig, I looked at his stats the other day. He's allowed 12 completions past 5 yards past the line of scrimmage and has allowed 90 yards in coverage all year.
Which is crazy, yeah.
And they're not going to play like Steve Spagnuolo, just repeatedly singling up coverage on Jamar Chase. They're going to have safety help. And obviously they've got Casey Hayward, but obviously he's more of a slot guy. So I think the Raiders' defense has got a few pretty good players and is incredibly soft in other areas. So
linebacker they are.
It is abysmal at line. It's been abysmal linebacker for as long as I can remember. Like,
it is where linebackers go to die. Because do you remember, like, it was Corey Littleton they had last year, and he was just completely flamed out.
Before that was perfect.
Yeah, perfect. There was Kwiatkowski as well, who I really liked, and then went there and was just.
They had what's his name, who was on the 49ers, but not Alden Smith. Who was it?
He took an Arden Key.
No. Well, yeah, that's another story. But they had I'm sure they had an inside linebacker who was on the 49ers, and he came over and he was dreadful. I think he had one play where it was like the 13th game of the year or like the 12th game of the year, and there was a deflected pass that just fell into his arms while he was lying in the end zone, and it was the Raiders' first pick of the year, if I recall correctly. Like, it's always been a weak spot, and yeah, I think Cincinnati probably can. I mean, we talked about the aerial game a lot, but we've not even talked about, like, they're a team who can lean on Joe Mixon if push comes to shove, but, you know, neither of these teams has been there before. Like, 19 years, I think, for the Raiders and 31 years for the Bengals since they last won playoff games, and it's Derek Carr's first playoff start, which I'm happy for him because he's played pretty well this year, but obviously not as well as Burrow, and I think I hope it's going to be entertaining.
The way
it'll be a bit of a squib if not.
The way that I always, as well, like, especially for two teams that haven't been to the playoffs or won a playoff game in so long, should I say, is it almost takes like a little bit of a sort of just a bit more gusto out of a guy. And if you want like a guy with gusto and sort of finesse in big spots, it's Burrow and Jamar Chase. Like, those two have both combined to put up just a ridiculous amount of numbers in crucial games, because they have a sort of they just have a certain aspect, an X factor, an ability to take over a game mentally as well. Whereas I don't look at Derek Carr and think this is a guy that's gonna go out and grab the team by the scruff of the neck and drag them through hell.
But you do look at Hunter Renfrow like that.
I don't know if I do. I look at Hunter Renfrow as being a great guy down the stretch, but he's not the sort of guy that's going to have like the sort of the balls, man. The balls.
Renfrow could give Cincinnati's best corner an absolute runaround. Who was it? Awuzie.
Well, hasn't Renfrow been playing in the slot for quite a lot? So I'm sure that he's been playing Mike Hilton.
I reckon Renfrow could cook Mike Hilton.
Yeah, like I like Renfrow as well. So
12 receptions, 107, and a touchdown for Hunter Renfrow in this game.
But the only problem is do you trust Zay Jones to?
No.
Do you trust Deshaun Jackson?
No.
So there you go. So you've got Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, who has been a little bit shaky, but they're going to be lining him up against Logan Wilson, as we've already covered. Probably doubling him up with Von Bell. So, like, the Raiders are going to have two guys that they can lean on. They won't be able to run the ball because Hubbard and Hendrickson have been playing the run unbelievably well pretty much all year. Like, the Raiders are a terrible mismatching in this game. They really are an awful mismatch.
Yeah, but what they've done this year is play close games. Even it doesn't matter who they play. Well, other than the Chiefs. But they've played close games against good teams, and they've played close games against really bad teams. And the Bengals are a good team, so I don't know. Sometimes teams just get into these sort of games. It's like, if this was a game against like the Vikings in week 12, you put your money on it being a one-score game.
Well, I mean, I'd put my money on it being a one-score game because of the Vikings, but like, this is a team that put up 9 against the Bears and gave up 20. They lost 32-13 against the Bengals at home earlier in the year.
Let me put a cap on this, and then we can move on, right?
Yeah.
Aren't we as fans incredibly lucky that this is Zach Taylor versus Rich Bisaccia and not Marvin Lewis versus John Gruden?
Oh, 1,000,000%. I know that Bisaccia has had to put up with a lot, and whether or not he ends up staying in Las Vegas after this season remains to be seen. And Zach Taylor, I still don't really value very highly as an actual coach, but this is far more likeable a duo than Gruden versus Marvin Lewis. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I wouldn't say Marvin Lewis was particularly unlikely. All I would say is, in this game, if the Bengals are down 16-13 at halftime, everyone in that stadium is going to break down into like tears, just like anxious tears, because they've read that script before, and there is a sense that some franchises don't have it. We'll see.
We'll see.
All
right.
Over under 25% Andy Dalton's in the building.
25%.
I'd say over. I think he shows up just to root for Cincy one final time.
I'm gonna say no, but who will certainly be there is a quarterback who's played for both teams. AJ McCarron will be there.
Under 1,000,000%. All right. We now turn our attention to the next game, which is the Saturday night football game in Orchard Park. The Buffalo Bills versus the New England Patriots for...
Oh, no.
He's gone. He's gone.
Oh.
Give us the goofiest music spike you can to signify that we can come back in. Or the goofiest.
Yeah, hang on. I will do.
You like that? You like that?
We now turn our attention to the Saturday night game in Orchard Park as the 11-6 Buffalo Bills take on the 10-7 New England Patriots in Pat's Bills 3. And all three of these games are promising to be freezing cold, pretty ugly, bizarre games, but not this time maybe, because will the Patriots have enough to outcoach Sean McDermott a third time?
A third time?
Third time?
They split the series, I think, didn't they? In the regular season?
Maybe they did. This is on me.
Yeah.
Well,
Whoever comes out on top in this game.
It's
the
fine.
first game was was on the Patriots one where Mac Jones did it 3 times with medium levels of success.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, my bad. I forgot that we played on Boxing Day. This is my fault. Let's just move on. All right.
This is what happens when you don't steal your takes directly from around the NFL.
I mean, this is exactly what happens when I'm entrusting my brain. It got slightly frazzled, like my computer did. Just get off my case. All right. Just quickly, who has everyone got taking this one? Because I must admit, I've got New England.
I've got Buffalo.
I've got Buffalo as well, just.
Okay.
I thought long and hard about picking New England. Clearly this is the most likable New England team in some time. But yeah, I think this game will be an entertaining game. Like, that's the thing that I'm excited. This is one of the games I've circled on the weekend to sort of. What are you thinking? This game won't be exciting?
It depends. It really depends on, what your definition of an exciting game is. I think what's more important than the temperature is like precipitation in these weather games. It's going to be with wind chill. It's going to be minus 19 degrees Celsius allegedly.
Right. So if my criteria for a really good game is just O-line play, this will be right at the top.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. I have to admit my criteria were different from that. It's going to be minus 19 or so. But it's not going to be rainy. It's not going to be hailing. Remember, there was sideways snow during that first game. I don't think it's going to be like that. And I think the Bills will be very grateful for that, because if it came down to a game where passing the ball wasn't particularly successful, then New England to me would certainly have the advantage in terms of a superior run game, because they're in the second half of the year, their run game's really come on leaps and bounds with I think Ramondre Stevenson's taken over as the lead back when he's been healthy, with Damian Harrison a bit more of a complementary role to him. And it's been very effective, but I don't think there's any chance that if it comes down to a duel that Mac Jones is going to beat Josh Allen. Josh Allen is just... He just makes plays, do you know what I mean? On the ground, through the air. He makes mistakes, but he'll come down on the next drive and just like torture a defense, run for like 25 yards, throw it for 20 yards, and he can carry a team by himself. Mac Jones is just a cog in the diabolical machine of Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick.
I hear what you're saying, but I do think that this game will come down to the running game. Those cold temperatures, trying to throw the ball, especially in a windy environment, which I think I've seen that it might again be windy, just like that ugly, ugly first game. If you're telling me this game is going to be another one where we're going to have 40 runs, 20 aside, I am 1,000,000% taking Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris, and that New England run scheme versus Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, Josh Allen as like a trio of not suitable running backs. I just can't.
20 runs in a game. That seems like a pretty normal number.
Well, maybe we'll bump it up to like 60 runs and 30 apiece a game. Like, shush. My point is.
Do you know what I think is really important about what's going to be really important in this game?
Go on.
I'll say this: how well the Bills rotate their defensive ends. Because they've got Epineza, they've got Rousseau, they've got Efe Obada, they've got Mario Addison, right? If they can put consistent pressure on the Patriots O-line every snap by rotating these guys in and out, keeping them fresh, that's going to be... If it turns into a game where they are rushing 30 or 40 times, keeping fresh bodies on the line down the end of the game is going to be what separates these teams, I think.
Mm.
The Bills are more talented.
But...
they're really, I would say, in almost every position, have more talented players. That doesn't mean they're going to win, but to me it certainly means they're going to be favoured. That's circumstance obviously does play a part, but to me, when it comes to the playoffs, unless something extraordinary happens, I'm just going to pick the team that I think is the most talented. And outside of the running backs, I would take the Bills in most positions.
See,
one critical position where I wouldn't though: center David Andrews versus Mitch Morse, who's been graded as the worst pass blocking and run blocking center in the NFL this year.
Which I think is crazy because, who's done this grade and have they watched Kendrick Green? Because, come on, man, Kendrick Green falls over at least 25% of his snaps. But
that's pretty bad.
I do hear what you say. No, it is. But anyway, the other thing that I would a million times...
Christian Barmore as well, wasn't he?
What?
Yeah.
Are they going to have Mitch Morse matched up against... I think Christian Barmore is fit to play in this game, and he's a very important piece for them.
Yeah.
Have we stumbled accidentally into a decent football take here?
No. I refuse to believe it.
A decent football take that we didn't hear elsewhere, no. No, but for real, I think the other thing that where Max would usually take talent in these close, kind of tricky to decide games, the thing that I'd always take over anything is coaching. And if you want to look at a guy that has won more playoff games than anyone, it's the evil emperor himself, Emperor Belichick. And I can't look away from him when he's had the whole AFC East number, even on down years when he had Cam Newton or Matt Castle or whatever. He still owns the AFC East apart from when he's in Miami. It doesn't matter how good or bad any of these teams are, because Bill Belichick will outcoach all of them.
Are you implying that Miami is the Kashyyyk of the NFL?
Yeah, I am, yeah. Miami is the Kashyyyk of the NFL, and no matter which coach they have in there, Bill can't go in and win.
You can't win a ground war in Kashyyyk.
Yeah, but they can win everywhere else. And what has Bill Belichick done more in his career? And I know that this sounds like a bit of a lazy take, but coaches can win games with no matter what roster they have. I mean, Brian Flores and David Culley both had many wins this year with bad rosters. What are we saying here? Bill Belichick is probably the best coach in NFL history, maybe bar like one or two guys, but nobody has been more successful than Bill Belichick. And that's just a straight fact. And I think he has been in this position way more than Sean McDermott. He faces off against Sean McDermott more times. And he's also the guy that will create chaos if needs be. I trust Bill Belichick more.
Bit of a weird point on Belichick. So many times I've seen the Patriots draw level with teams by score. You know, like late in games, I've seen them like properly draw level.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen another team draw level on points with the Patriots near the end of a game.
No.
They either get more or less, but no one ever draws on terms that aren't the Patriots.
Yeah, the Patriots are good at coming from behind, and they're good at keeping themselves ahead because Bill Belichick is one of the ultimate game managers. He knows when to put his neck out on the line in big spots. So he is.
They literally played 3 weeks ago, and Buffalo won comfortably. That, you know...
And they literally played 6 weeks ago, and Buffalo lost horribly.
Yeah, but it's also not going to be the middle of a blizzard, as far as I'm aware.
The adventures of hindsight, man.
It depends. It depends purely on how Josh Allen plays. If Josh Allen plays well, then I think the Bills will probably win at a canter. But and you're right, Belichick can throw, you know, a few curveballs, and if he can rustle Josh Allen's Jimmies, then you're looking at, you know, an entirely blank canvas, which is going to be splattered with the paint of football carnage.
Max, just quickly remind me, what did you say about Josh Allen at the beginning of the year and have maintained throughout the season?
Said he wasn't going to be as good as he was last year.
Okay. And did you by any chance think that there would be a penchant for him getting his Jimmies rustled like we saw in week 1 or week 12?
Yeah, I said if he gets
many times throughout the season.
I said if he gets his Jimmies rustled, then we know that the season before that he'd been a little bit scattershot, to say the least. But if he doesn't get his Jimmies rustled, we'll have to see.
All I'm saying,
I think it does hinge on him as much as any one game hinges on the performance of one player. This game hinges on his performance.
Okay,
you know,
not on Star Lotulele.
Well, I obviously love and respect Star Lotulele, but unless he scores a touchdown in this game now, maybe this is the game where we get those promised F.A. Obada touchdowns.
Bucket listeners.
All right, let's turn our attention now to the NFC because the Sunday early window has the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Philadelphia Eagles in big upset watch potential, because I know that the Eagles haven't won a game against anyone that at the time they beat them had a winning record, but the Buccaneers don't have really any of their star players coming back for this one. Chris Godwin out, Leonard Fournette out.
Is he out?
Apparently so. I've not seen any injury update to suggest that he's even remotely in.
I think he practiced this week. He did practice this week.
Just having a look at the Buccaneers thing. Mike Evans was upgraded to full, and they.
That's the thing. I'd rather have Mike Evans and a bunch of practice squad scrubs than Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, but they've got Devontae Smith and a bunch of practice squad scrubs.
And sometimes
JJ on IR. We should point that.
Yeah,
so the whole Buccaneers injury report for this game is Shaq Barrett was limited, Jamel Dean was limited, Mike Evans was limited, Cyril Grayson did not participate, Ryan Jensen was limited, Ronald Jones didn't participate, Sean Murphy-Bunting was limited, Anthony Nelson did not participate, Brashad Perriman limited, Jason Pierre-Paul limited, Bradley Pinion full, Rashad Robinson limited, Keyshawn Vaughn full, Justin Watson limited. But
who's Rashad Robinson?
a cornerback, so they are missing.
Oh, and Richard Sherman went on IR as well. So
yeah, and don't forget as well that Godwin and Fournette didn't practice at all. Didn't even come back onto the practice report.
I was on IR. I think Fournette was on IR, so he might not show up on the practice report. But I don't know if he's going to go. But Yeah, I mean, whether the Bucks can miss as many cornerbacks as they like, I don't think that's where they're going to necessarily be most vulnerable to this Eagles team. I think it is going to be in the trenches. And yeah, I quite agree that they're missing all these guys, but sometimes all you need to win a playoff game is Tommy and Robbie. Just two best friends out on the field.
Yeah, it may well come down to that. I mean, of all of the games this week, this is the one I'm looking forward to least, and it's not just because I'm generally anti-Eagles, but like, I think the Eagles are certainly at this point the most talent-poor team left in the playoffs, and I just think that even a depleted Tampa is going to have too much for them.
Are they the most talent-poor? Maybe. Maybe the Raiders.
If you take O-line out of it, it's a certainty.
Yeah, but the O-line is a factor.
Yeah, and
Jordan Mailata has been a great tackle this year.
Jordan Mailata has been great. I mean, Jason Kelsey's still incredible. But outside of the fact that they can pass and run block very well, there's nothing exciting about the Eagles team.
I do agree with Tom. This one is on upset watch. I think there's a chance that the Eagles can keep it close just by, I think they can get some joy with Miles Sanders, with Jalen Hurts running, and just reducing the amount of possessions that the Bucs have. And if this game was close, like 23-21 in the fourth quarter, I wouldn't be shocked. But I also wouldn't be shocked if it ended 43-7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Vita Vea. That's what I would say. Again, is he playing in this game, or is
I think so.
Playing, isn't he?
Is he?
I know that there was fears about him playing. I'm not actually sure if he went onto IR. I think I might have dreamt that.
Perhaps.
A horrible nightmare.
The other thing,
the
other thing though about the Buccaneers is like, I know that people aren't going to say that it's a factor, but like, and Max said, in the face of adversity, teams can get stronger. But like, the Antonio Brown scenario from 2 weeks is still not gone away. Is that not a bit of a distraction for a team that, I mean, scraped against the Jets, lost in a game where they were shut out against the Saints, who put up 9 points? Like, the Buccaneers down the stretch, outside of playing the Panthers, like I don't think that they've played comfortably at all.
Yeah, they're a world apart from the way that they came into the playoffs last year. Like last year, they came in on fire.
But even last year, like, they faced a bad Washington team with a guy that hadn't taken an NFL snap yet and almost went out if it wasn't for some Brady heroics. Funnily enough, with the guys that they have out, or at least potentially out, not even remotely injured. So, like, this is a considerably worse Bucs team with more distraction and less run of form, and they're going to be coming up against an Eagles team that basically got a bye last week because they rested a bunch of players, and will also, like I say, have absolutely nothing to lose, might I add. Like, this is a team that is being written off and has been written off all season. If you come into a game with absolutely nothing to lose versus the defending Super Bowl champions, what's not to say that you don't just throw the playbook out the window and go absolutely balls to the wall? There is no chance that the Eagles come in and play.
Sirianni.
Yeah,
it could happen.
I was literally about to say this is Sirianni.
And Sirianni got a talentless roster, as you've rightly pointed out, to 9-8 and into the playoffs. Like, you're talking about Nick Sirianni, and we've all sort of joked about him, but like, clearly he's worked for the Eagles. This is the first year in what is basically being considered in Philly a bit of a rebuild, with a brand new GM and a brand new head coach, and they've gotten to the playoffs without really any fucking expectation to do so.
Harry Roseman's still there.
The Roseman is still there, I think.
Sorry, my bad, but even still.
Are you picking the Eagles? Are you picking the Eagles for this game, Tom?
Yeah, I'm picking the Eagles. I think there's a massive chance for an upset here from a team that has absolutely nothing to lose versus a team that is thoroughly distracted by everything going on. And playing like crap. Playing
think-
like crap as well, might I add.
I don't think the Antonio Brown thing is a distraction because I don't think Antonio Brown is necessarily missed by many of the people in the places that he used to be in, other than maybe the guy who wears number 12. You know, losing Chris Godwin is much more of a factor to me, and you know, even losing Cyril Grayson to an extent is a factor. But
this is the thing.
Yeah, I think if anything, like Antonio Brown getting fired is like a weight lifted from this team.
But the only other thing as well is that I know that Antonio Brown leaving, you're saying might not be a distraction even still, but like if you suddenly have a game plan 3 or 4 weeks ago, which is we're going to go into the playoffs and we've got Chris Godwin, we've got Antonio Brown, we've got Rob Gronkowski back, Mike Evans is still healthy and Leonard Fournette, and all of a sudden you're looking at this team and you've got Mike Evans who might not even play because he was limited and granted he got upgraded to full, so chances he will end up playing. And Rob Gronkowski, who I might add runs at about the speed of a Zamboni on fucking ice skates. But
they don't need him to run; they just need him to be big.
But the point is that if you're game planning a potential playoff thing, because bear in mind the Buccaneers have known that they were probably going to be in the playoffs for weeks now, and have had a soft as fuck schedule coming into it, and you're basically game planning, who are we going to be playing in the playoffs, like game planning an offense that might work, and all of a sudden all of those pieces are now gone for whatever reason, be it that they quit on the team halfway through, or are injured for the rest of the season, or are very unlikely to play and so you can't game plan that. That's a distraction. That is a genuine factor.
I think that everything you've said I give perfect credence to, and yet I also think that they might lose by 10. I also think that the Eagles might lose by 10 plus.
They could, but you know, I'm picking the Eagles. I think that this is the most upset game.
Any playoff team, like with Tom Brady, has historically been a little bit of a Death Star, and it's kind of hard to imagine me. You know, it's kind of hard for me to imagine like a Jalen Hurts. You know, I like Jalen Hurts. I've talked about Jalen Hurts positively because he's a fun player to watch. But like, when the chips are down, when he's under the cosh, do I think he's going to step up and win in old Ray J stay? Probably not. But you know, maybe the Eagles. If the Eagles go down by more than 2 scores at any point, I think they're cooked. But we'll see what happens.
We'll have to wait and see. All right, let's move on to the next game because we've still got 3 more left to preview here. Holy moly! We turn our attention now to the second window on Sunday. The Cowboys hosting the 49ers, and another one
Ed
which
apparently extremely bored by this concept.
Yeah, I produced an absolutely stonking yawn then. I'm not bored by this concept. This game is like, I think this game will be like a very interesting game. Like I think
who are you all picking?
I'm picking the Niners in this one.
I was gonna pick the Niners as well.
Max?
It's a toss-up. Give me a couple of minutes and I'll think about it.
Right.
Let me hear out these arguments and I'll decide.
Okay. Ed, do you want to take the floor first? Because I'd sort of fought the corner for the Eagles for a while.
Yeah, sure. I think that in this game it's going to come down to tight ends, and I think that I don't know of a single player on the Cowboys that can actually cover George Kittle. And I think that if this turns into a Kittle game, that's that.
How many Kittle games? We've had 2 Kittle games this year, right?
Yeah, but they're, you know, what's the expression? Good things come in threes. I think we're due another Kittle game. I think that
wasn't. I have to be honest. The good things come in threes argument wasn't the most persuasive for me.
No, okay. I think that Nick Bosa will get a lot of joy against Lyle Collins. I think that's one thing, and obviously the reverse is true with Micah Parsons and Marcus Lawrence. But I see this game being a high scorer. Is I think what it is. I'm looking forward to it. Whether it'll be Whether it'll be a high quality game, I don't know, but it will be a high scoring game, sure. I think there'll be at least 2 defensive touchdowns in this game.
Interesting. And what are your thoughts, Tom?
The Cowboys sort of don't strike me as a team that look like they've got it all figured out yet. They started the season incredibly hot, but they almost sort of struggle to really get going. I know that they put up 52 on the Eagles, but that was 1, the Eagles' backups, and 2, they scored 21 in the fourth quarter. I don't like their 2 best games down the stretch have been against Washington, who are bad. They're just objectively bad, and Micah Parsons has absolutely torn them a new one. But at the same time, like, I agree with Ed. I don't think that there's anyone on the Cowboys that could cover Kittle. Like, I don't think that Keanu Neal as that hybrid is going to be enough to cover Kittle. I don't think that Parsons will be dropping into coverage specifically to cover Kittle. And I also, Deebo Samuel.
It's not his forte at all.
And Deebo Samuel, I think, is probably the biggest, like, X factor coming into this game in particular. Like, he is a rushing and receiving threat. He's most likely going to be matched up against Trayvon Diggs because they insist that 10 interceptions means that he won't get burned for 1,200 yards on the season. So Deebo Samuel is going to be up against Trayvon Diggs. They're going to have their safeties spying Kittle most of the game. I don't see the Cowboys being able to stop them defensively, even if Jimmy Garoppolo stinks. And I also
they can stop if Jimmy G stinks.
I don't think that they can. I think that they'll get a few very good crucial turnovers. I think that there will be defensive touchdowns, but man,
I think Jimmy G is the biggest obstacle between the 49ers and winning this game. Like, the Cowboys have scored more than 35 points 7 times this season, if you can believe that. But like you say, like, a lot of those have been against fairly awful teams. To me, the question is, like, where are we at on the 49ers defense? Because on the secondary side, they are very light. Like, they've been recycling through guys this season like crazy. I mean, and we know the Cowboys have got the wide receiver talent to take advantage of that. And you talk about George Kittle, but I also think, like, I think Dalton Schultz is probably one of the more underrated tight ends in the league right now. They're getting Blake Jarwin back, who's I'm pretty sure is just a clone of Dalton Schultz, for given a random name. And their third guy there as well, I think, is more or less the same. They're all the same to me. But I do think that this is the most likely game this week to end in an upset, like with the road team winning. Just because the Cowboys have, I feel like they've flattered to deceive a little bit, and just Mike McCarthy going up against, Kyle Shanahan. I don't have great vibes about that for the Cowboys. I think I probably would also lean towards taking the 49ers, but in my heart, I don't want to see the 49ers in the playoffs. I'd be much happier to see the Cowboys show up at Lambeau for some reason, but the 49ers have just got the play, like, they've got the players who can just take a game into their hands, like Kittle, like Debo. This game could very well end like 38-35. Like, I can very much see that happening. But if the Cowboys are going to win, they're going to need Dak Prescott to play like he did before he got hurt, because he's been a bit more cautious since then. And it would have to devolve into just like a total throw fest, because I just don't think Zeke Elliott is much of a guy. Like, he's just not got the burst anymore, does he? Like, you can run him down by the goal line as much as you want and find some joy of that, but like, he's not tearing people up in the open field for long runs, is he? Like,
what's happened to Tony Pollard? Because if you want a guy that's got the explosion, Tony Pollard seems to be that guy, but he's just dropped since pretty much ever since Dak got hurt. The entire offense has just regressed.
I've never really rated Tony Pollard. Like, I don't think he's a lot like Antonio Gibson to me. Like,
he couldn't be a running back one. He definitely couldn't be a running back one to me.
No,
it's funny. We're saying that the offense has regressed, and Yeah, I guess they have scored 56 and 51 in their last 3 games, but the Eagles one, you can put some stock into that. Like it's a mojo moment for them. If nothing else, it's a mojo moment, and maybe they can ride that. If they play to the extent, then I would probably back the Cowboys to win, but they have just seemed to be stuck in the mud. So, yeah, I'll probably join you on 49ers corner for this one.
Okay. Let's move on to the primetime games then. We start on Sunday night as the Kansas City Chiefs missed out on the 1 seed in Week 18, but they get the Pittsburgh Steelers at 9-7-1, joining them at Arrowhead. These two sides met up 3 weeks ago and the Chiefs racked up 36 points on the Steelers, who only got a touchdown late in the fourth quarter, basically is like a feel-good. This game, I think that with how everyone's reacted to how this game is matching up, I think that there will be a surprise involved, being that I think that it'll actually be closer than everyone seems to insist. I saw one take that was someone called like Max Wright or something on one of these many talking show heads. He said that this was better than having a bye, playing the Steelers defense that has like Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick on it. Like, I appreciate that the Chiefs will probably end up winning this game and it will end up being quite comfortable, maybe. But to say that this is better than getting a bye when the Steelers lead the league in sacks feels a little bit like a silly suggestion. And for a team that I'm going to quickly point out, like the Eagles, have absolutely no expectations. Ben Roethlisberger himself, actually, in a press conference, which has got sort of NFL chuckling a little bit, including myself, said, "We're coming in as 20-point underdogs, and we're not expected to get any further, so let's just go out and have some fun." I could genuinely see this game surprising people in the sense that it'll be way closer than anyone's expecting. Still think the Chiefs will win, but don't write off like Pat Fryermuth and Najee Harris having big days. And also a big piece of news for the Steelers is that Juju Smith-Schuster, who was put on IR after the Denver Broncos game with a dislocated shoulder and like a torn rotator cuff, is back in practice and is actually trending to play on Sunday, which could be a huge one because out of the slot, we've been targeting Ray McLeod, including for the vast majority of the game against the Chiefs. All of a sudden, you get a guy that's a little bit more reliable in Juju Smith-Schuster back. There's potential here to be sneaky covering the spread, is all I'm saying.
What's the free agent situation like for Pittsburgh?
What's the freaking free agent situation?
What's the freezing free agent? What do you mean? As in, like, who's leaving?
Yeah, like, what proportion of that first team do you reckon is going to be there next year? Like,
So,
obviously, I'm not counting chickens and saying they've already lost this game, but it just, if in the event that they do lose this game, is this the last time we'll see a good number of those Steelers players together?
No, because most of them are they've either just been paid or they are on their rookie deal still. So Terrell Edmonds is out at the end of this year, I think.
They'll be sad to see the back of Joe Hayden if he leaves.
Yeah, Joe Hayden is the big one. Juju Smith-Schuster is in his final year because he only signed a 1-year deal for like $8 million. But with the massive amount of cap room that the Steelers will actually get after Ben Roethlisberger is out, and with the expanded cap, there is a potential that they make a run on trying to re-sign him. Other than that, literally, like, I don't think that there is anyone like major. They re-signed TJ Watt, and that was like the big one that they needed to get done. But like even guys that have missed the entire year, like Tyson Alualu and Stephon Tuitt, they still have a year left on their deal after this year. So like, there isn't.
What about Eric Ebron?
I mean, Eric Ebron will probably end up getting like cut, to be honest, because Pat Fryermuth is definitively tight end one.
Is Eric Ebron still on the Steelers?
Yeah, he's been injured for like 4 weeks, but also with how well Zach Gentry has stepped up in that tight end 2 role, and with how well Pat Fryermuth has stepped up as sneaky, like, great pick for the second round. I mean, the Steelers draft class got killed in the last offseason, but evaluating it now, Najee and Pat Fryermuth, that's a steal.
I adored the Fryermuth pick. I absolutely love that pick.
Can we potentially loop back around this in the offseason? Because what I really want to talk about is
this game.
The Steelers. Well, yeah, kind of a little bit.
Yeah.
What I want to talk about is the Steelers' offensive line and the matchup that they have against Chris Jones, who has traditionally played his best football around this time of year. And in fact, the same can be said of Frank Clark, who has pretty much had, I think his sack rate during the postseason is like 8 in 6 games, and during the regular season it's like 20 in 3 full seasons. So they do tend to step up. I mean, I think even the coaches and the play calling for the Chiefs has hit another gear in the postseason the last couple of years. And to me, I think if Chris Jones is on his game, he could probably bulldoze the interior of the Steelers' offensive line. And you know, their best chance in this game is getting Najee Harris going. You know, just sort of trying to pound the Chiefs to dust, because Spags is gonna. We know Spags plays like pretty aggressive man coverage with his corners, right? And if there's no threat of being consistently beaten with a deep ball like they were against Cincinnati, then it's going to be quite easy to make the Steelers one-dimensional.
I'm happy to have that take be the take of the game.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it is literally the Chiefs. How heavy do they blitz? Do they stick to the same game plan? Do they change it up slightly?
To me, the Steelers' best chance of winning this game is turnovers, which isn't really something you can rely on. Like, you can't game plan like, oh, we'll just win the turnover battle, you know. But if they can win the turnover battle by +2, then, and if they can get Najee Harris going, then that would be their path. But like, yeah, we saw that they didn't match up very favorably in the first game, and it's going to be Arrowhead in the playoffs is a pretty significant home advantage. So it's certainly, I don't think anyone would argue that it's going to be anything but an uphill slog for the Steelers in this one.
Oh, God, no. One piece of news, I've not seen anything come out after that Denver game about Tyreek Hill other than that he's likely to play.
He fully practiced on Wednesday, but then was limited on Thursday. But that still sounds like he'll go.
Yeah. It's the problem really is not whether or not he will go, though, or whether or not he will go healthy, because Tyreek Hill's main asset isn't his hands or his route running, it's his speed. And
it's his cheeky grin.
And without that moneymaker ability to turn on the Jets, even to 80%, he, like, is it out of the question to say that he struggles? Like, obviously they'll get Kelsey involved, they'll get Mecole Hardman involved, but you get Tyreek Hill limited.
He had 2 catches for 19 yards in the first game.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sometimes, I mean, it's a well-known factor that if the Chiefs aren't passing to Tyreek Hill, they're using the threat of Tyreek Hill to pass to people open underneath. Like, and they do the same thing with Hardman when Hill isn't there, so I don't know. Like, I think that if there's one thing Steelers fans can cling to, it's that Tyreek Hill isn't healthy. But I'm not sure how.
If I'm being completely honest, the one thing that Steelers fans are actually clinging on to is that no matter what happens, we get one more game of Ben Roethlisberger, and that's, I mean, the 2 games that led to this point are the real victories for us. Like, we're going to get our shit stomped by the Chiefs. There's nothing really to say about it other than that maybe, like, if the game ends up going a little bit more in our favour than it did the first one, then it'll at least be close. That's pretty much it. Nobody in Steeler Nation is actually saying anything along the lines of, oh, we're definitely going to win. If anyone's saying we're going to the Super Bowl, you can 1,000,000% say that that is a joke, because it is, and everyone that has said it is saying it ironically as a joke because this team is bad.
We're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's the running joke. We're bullshitting our way through a bunch of games. We made it to the playoffs, and the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl. But no, we're not. No. This game should be open and shut, really. But I get one final chance to talk about Ben Roethlisberger Pittsburgh Steelers game, and that's all I could have hoped for. Let's move on to Monday Night Football, which is the 12-5 LA Rams at SoFi Stadium, the host of the Super Bowl this year, facing off against the Arizona Cardinals. And, you know, in the weird sort of like rock, paper, scissors that is the NFC West, what's the scenario? Does McVay own Kingsbury, or is Kingsbury owning McVay, or what?
I will have to check that for you, because I know the Seahawks own the Cardinals and the 49ers own the Rams. But let me see what the history of the Cardinals and the Rams are, because, yeah, I do think you guys... I mean, I just said that I back the talented team, but that doesn't apply for NFC West games. I back the team who wins. So the last...
There's something like 8 games in a row, isn't it?
It's the Rams have won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They won 9 of the last 10.
Oh, all right. I'm going Rams every single day of the week then.
Although I will say that obviously the Cardinals, their one win was early this year, and it was at SoFi. But I think it was before they lost that game to the Packers, and Kyler Murray got hurt. And I don't see any reason why
it didn't change.
I don't see the Cardinals. I don't see any reason why they would win this game. They're plummeting. They are plummeting, and it's like Cliff Kingsbury's the captain of the fucking Titanic at this point. Do you know what I mean? Like every year, week 1 you set off from Southampton. You know, first 8 weeks things are going great. You're enjoying the sights and sounds of the Atlantic Ocean, and then bam, the iceberg that is playing the Rams.
The iceberg that is playing the Rams, and then the Seahawks / Lusitania just goes past.
Exactly, yeah.
One thing about this game is that the Cardinals may be a sinking ship, but they will be getting a huge boost, maybe even to plug a few holes, in the form that J.J. Watt might genuinely be back. Run stuff in has been an issue for the Cardinals, and they're going to get a guy that, while maybe on the athletic downswing of his career and can't stay healthy, when you get J.J. Watt playing in any game, there's still an opportunity for him to cause a little bit of carnage, a little bit of chaos.
Yes. I don't know. Don't you think? Can't you imagine that J.J. Watt is just like, he's been working his absolute ass off to try and get back, but he's just going to come back and not. He's going to like Russell Wilson when he came back and got shut out against the Packers. Like, oh, this was too soon.
That's a fear. Like, that's a fear that I have. I think they do well to have him in on running downs only. Like, he doesn't need to rush the passer in this game.
But I'd say that
Which
they
is
can
funny.
get away with
J.J. Watt's basically injuries have reduced J.J. Watt to Jadeveon Clowney.
that.
How ironic.
Without the temperament issues, yeah.
Do you not think it's weird that like this game features some of the best just like single like one-on-one matchups in the NFL? Like this week we're gonna have Rodney Hudson versus Aaron Donald. Is D-Hop playing in this game?
Well, this is also something that I was just quickly having a look for, but I've not seen anything about it.
No, he's not going to play.
No. The Cardinals actually, like, their Thursday, like, injury report looks a little banged up, you know. They've got James Conner, who did not practice, Zach Ertz, Rodney Hudson, Chase Edmonds was limited, Rondale Moore was limited, Kelvin Beachum.
Hudson's not playing.
Hudson,
you mean
Hudson did not practice, but he gets rested everything as like a veteran thing.
I was about to say, if they're starting a backup center against Aaron Donald, you can call it now.
Yeah. I'm
Especially
still...
the way he's been playing down the stretch.
Oh god, yeah. But it looks like he probably will end up playing. But even still, like, one thing about the Rams that is maybe worth tracking is that their secondary is incredibly banged up. They have Taylor Rapp in the concussion protocol, and
Jalen Ramsey went to town on him again.
Yeah, I was about to make the exact same joke.
But they are sneaky banged up. They've just signed Eric Weddle.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Which is brilliant. It's something. All right, it certainly is something. But this one I think will probably end up being
before he retired.
What?
He was fully cooked before he retired.
Yeah, and now he's coming back after multiple months out of the game.
It's not. He won't be playing he'll be playing more of a strong than a full free safety role, though. Surely, if it's a free safety.
You might as well start. You might as well start Michelangelo's David at strong safety, at free safety. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that's there. But they just have to fit him for a kit, I suppose. I don't think they could. But no, honestly, this game I think the Rams should win quite easily. But you know, NFC West sometimes weird things do happen. Like, could the Cardinals win this game? Just purely because, I don't know, Matt Stafford continues to be quite turnover happy. Kyler Murray makes some ridiculous plays. Antoine Wesley scores 3 touchdowns. Okay, maybe not. But, you know, if Matt Stafford plays his worst game that he's played the last few weeks, and if Kyler Murray plays the best game that he's played the best few weeks, that's going to be a bit of a leveler. Like, the supporting cast for the Rams right now is definitely better. They're going to need something out of Odell Beckham if they want to be serious playoff contenders here. Like, I still wouldn't back them if they had to come up to Green Bay, for example. But in this game at
Ed,
home...
have you noticed, just quickly, every single one of these NFC games, Max has mentioned, I wouldn't want them to come to Green Bay, or I would be happy with them coming to Lambeau, or something along these lines. Like, the Packers have a bye. You don't have to think about them this week, Max.
Sorry, it's kind of the privilege you have when your team's the best in the conference. You get to be like, oh,
best in this conference. The Eagles made it.
I wouldn't mind seeing the Eagles. To be fair, I don't want to see the Bucks back.
But the Rams and Cardinals game, which we're currently previewing for this one.
Yeah.
So, Tom, if you want to, you can look at like Bills New England and be like, oh, I wouldn't mind going up to Buffalo in the next round.
Well, I mean, no, because I'm not about that life, Max. You learn tricks of the trade when you come on here for multiple years. You get that trait beaten out of you.
No, I refuse.
But usually by fans of teams that don't make the playoffs, like Ed. Anyway. All right. Did we actually say who we think is going to win this one? I've said the Rams, but
yeah, I say the Rams.
I've got the Rams as well here.
Okay, so we've all gone clean sweep on the Rams. We will be back on Tuesday. In fact, actually, there is one more thing before we leave. Like I've done every single fucking week. Cut away from the outro to do another piece of news or something. David Culley is out in Texas.
And not just David Culley, but Sean Kelly, the OC, as well.
Yeah. We did like a little section in one of the preseason episodes called How Many Tom Sulas Is That? And we had 2 Tom Sulas in 1 year. So good job, everyone. We did it. We had Urban Meyer early on in the season, and now we got David Culley. One and done in Houston. And similar to the Brian Flores situation, what the fuck? Like, it was an abysmal roster.
This was nowhere near as unexpected as the Flores one.
It's not unexpected because like they pretty much hinted at it all the way, but that was sort of on the assumption that David Culley would also be as bad as the rest of the team. And what he actually got is the Texans playing good football by the last 6 weeks.
Well, they played
winning football. I
Their
don't know if they played
station,
good
perhaps.
They played good football against the Chargers and Titans. Come on.
They didn't look like they were badly coached. You know, would you say the Lions played good football? Maybe in spots, but you wouldn't say, you know. But they didn't give up on the season, whereas some teams, like the Jags, for example, until the Colts game, but they pretty clearly given up a point. So, to me, the Giants definitely gave up. To me, I don't think it would have been unexpected because I think when Cully took the job, I mean, I think he probably would have been aware that there was a good chance that this would happen. Like, it's still, like, pretty shitty practice. Like, I think Cully will be, you know, he was set up to be the fall guy. I think I said that much in the Tom Sooth episode, but yeah, I think they must have a guy in mind that they want, because like when you treat your manager like that, you make yourself a less attractive place to go. So I can only assume they've got some former Patriot on the blower just ready to step in.
Brian Hoyer is ready.
Well, I think it might be a different Brian.
The other piece of coaching news, we will come back to the Cully thing, but just quickly to mention it because you did mention that the Giants gave up on the season. Just after we recorded our episode on Tuesday, Joe Judge was fired. Anyway, back to David Cully, because that was blatantly obvious.
Yeah, I mean, anyone with a pulse and a brain could see that Joe Judge was on his way out. Like, the Cully one just hurts me so much because as a fan, you want to look at the NFL as a meritocracy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to look at these as being sort of the best guys available, and it's like if Cully can do that sort of a job and get fired, you know what I'm saying? Like, the little optimist in me died a little bit.
Yeah. One of the things that I found out recently was that apparently David Cully's like 5-year contract that he signed, that was like he was gonna get like 4 years of payout because he's been fired for pretty much no reason based off of his own actual performance. Turns out that they only gave him 2 years of guaranteed money, so he's gonna get 1 year of payout and the rest is stricken off. So,
which is part of the thing that made me think that he knew there was, when you say 5 years, but only 2 years is guaranteed, like, I think you probably can read between the lines on that fairly easily, right?
Yeah, that's like the contract that Swansea gave Michu after the injury.
Did Swansea give Michu the contract after the injury?
I think they did, yeah.
One for the Taysom Contract Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But
just one, I've got a little point, it's not Cully related, but a little point of it.
Go on.
This year is every 4 years there's a year where the NFC West plays the AFC West, and that year is weirdly always cursed, and there are some ridiculous games. So I'm looking forward to 2022 already, when we have games like Cardinals Chiefs, Chargers Niners,
and because of the whole new thing where the 17th game is now based off of the division you played 2 years ago, and also there's a whole bunch of great matchups coming. That's all I'm saying. There's a whole bunch of great matchups. Like, I reckon the Chiefs are going to be playing someone interesting, and they might actually be slightly better.
There's some speculation that at the moment that the Packers have got their 9th. They've got that extra home game next year against the Patriots. There's a little bit of speculation that it would be played over here in London, in which case I would have to shell out like 400 quid to go, because that would be heads and shoulders the biggest game they've ever sent over here.
Yeah, I would pay an infinite amount of money to watch that game. One for you fat sports fans, Colts Vikings.
Oh,
sickos.
I promised everyone exciting football.
Okay. Jags Lions.
Now that's more like it. Tank Bowl 2022, it's coming. Oh, but yeah, let's get out of here. Let's get into the review next week, and hopefully we can have some exciting football to talk about. But thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you later.
Music.
has there.